Hello and welcome secret seekers to this channel where we unlock the world of classical music. The Träumerei by Robert Schumann is one of his most loved melodies, so relaxing and soothing. It's found in Kinderszenen, or Scenes from Childhood, which is a collection or a suite or a cycle of 13 very short piano pieces. It lasts about 15 minutes to play. And this is a common form that Schumann uses, either with these very short miniatures, for example in Papillons Opus 2 and Carnival Opus 9, or bigger works with longer movements grouped together, for example also in Kreisliana Opus 16 and Novelletten Opus 21. Now about the Kinderszenen, Schumann writes in a letter to his wife Clara that "I have been waiting for your letter and have in the meantime filled several books with pieces. You once said to me that I often seemed like a child, and I suddenly got inspired and knocked off around 30 quaint little pieces. I selected several and titled them Kinderszenen. You will enjoy them, though you will need to forget that you are a virtuoso when you play them." And his wife Clara was one of the greatest pianists in Europe at the time. Now he also wrote another set, Album for the Young, Opus 68, so later, with 43 very short pieces that are on a level meant for children or beginners to play. The Kinderszenen, however, is not really meant for children. It's not very technically demanding, as Schumann says in the letter, but there is a quality of nostalgia to it, of like looking back and remembering these different states of childhood. So it's more meant for adults in a way. Now I'm going to look at some of the other movements before we get to the Träumerei. So let's start with number 1, of Foreign Lands and People. This is also very dreamy music, and that's kind of a common thread through the whole suite Kinderszenen. And let's look at this. We have the accompaniment. Is this smoothly moving arpeggios. And then the melody has this rising interval of a sixth, and then followed by a few notes of a scale down. So here we go. I'm going to play the second part of the piece, the very short piece, as well, so we get it, because it's so nice. And back with the theme. Now let's see if we can find any of these elements in the other movements. So let's look at number 4, Suppliant Child. So the melody, the rising interval, it's the sixth, rising sixth, and the scale down. And kind of arpeggios in the accompaniment. Also very dreamy. Number 5, Perfect Happiness. It's the same, a rising sixth and a scale down, and then in the left hand. Moving on to number 10, Almost Too Serious. This is in minor, but we still have the accompaniment, the dreamy accompaniment, and the rising sixth in the melody. So this is developing a bit more. This is a slightly longer piece also. So we can find these elements in other movements, but in different characters. And it's an interesting issue how much pieces in a suite like this are linked together. Because it's not that they originate from the same theme with like the same harmonic structure, because that would be called variations. But they're still linked enough to be grouped together in a coherent whole of the suite, but also different enough to be fully separate movements. There's also another feature in the Kinderszenen that's kind of a contrasting character. It's a jumpy, dotted rhythm, kind of a higher energy march, and you have that first in number 2, the funny story. I'm not going to get into this, but you also have it in number 6, A Great Event, number 9, The Night of the Hobby Horse, and number 11, Frightening. And now we get to number 7, Träumerei. This is like the heart of the piece in the middle. We remember this interval of the rising 6 and we see what happens to it. So it's been stretched out to a full octave. Very resonating and stable. And we also have a very slow harmonic pace. So the music almost stops at these chords. And then finds the way forward with these daydreaming thoughts. And this goes to the 4th, the subdominant. It's very safe and home chord, and going down. So the harmonic pace increase on the way down, and you get some melodic fragments in the left hand as a counter voice. These are called horn fifth. It like that. And we end up on C major, the dominant, and go back to F major. So we go for a second round, and now watch the interval. It's been stretched out to a 10th. And now we're going to D minor, the relative minor to F major, so it's a tinge sadder with some more tension, but it's still pretty close to home. This is A7, the dominant to D minor. And going back to F major as well. Then there's a repeat of these phrases, and then in the middle section we get even more tension in minor. But we eventually found our way back to F major, which sounds even nicer then, of course. And a return of the first phrases. Dreaming on. And now for the final time. Get this new chord. It's a G 9th chord, kind of more positive and hopeful. And coming down. And ending very calmly. Now, to finish this episode, I will play another full piece from the Kinderszenen that works well together with the dreaming. It's number 12, Child Falling Asleep. So it's the penultimate piece in the cycle. Number 13, The Poet Speaks, is the final one, but that's more like an epilogue, commenting on what's been going on before. So number 12 is the last one before the epilogue. It's this very soothing music also. So we have like a rocking back and forth with 2 chords. This is in E minor. So like a march, but not marching, rocking instead. And then we have the motif, starts in the left hand, and then in the right hand. We have this rising interval, starts with the 5th, and then it's the 6th. And this motif is also kind of trading back and forth between the hands. So we're in E minor, but it doesn't really feel that sad because of these stable elements. It's more like it's at peace with the world. Before falling asleep. And then after this first phrase we get a section that starts in the major, so even more hopeful and nice in E major, and then it develops a little bit, and in the end, for you advanced secret seekers out there, the magical effect in the end is a descending sequence of the motif over the circle of 5th with suspensions on 9ths. So I give you number 12, Child Falling Asleep from Kinderszenen. Thanks for watching Sonata Secrets. Check out my other videos, for example the miniature form in the hands of Chopin in his preludes. And subscribe if you haven't already. And a special thank you and shout out to my Patreon sponsor Jay Neerman in this episode.